Welcome to the First Down Playbook Live Q&A with Hall of Famer and former NFL coach Mike Singletary. My name is Kendall Atcho, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of First Down Playbook. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We all know Coach Singletary is enshrined in Canton. Let me put that into perspective. There are only 326 living members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we are lucky enough to have one of the most well-known and well-respected right here with us tonight. Coach Singletary played high school football at Houston Worthing High and competed collegiately at Baylor University. Then, as we all know, he grew into a 10-time Pro Bowler and Hall of Fame linebacker for the Chicago Bears. Coach Singletary continues to be an important part of football. After his playing days concluded, he began his coaching career with the Baltimore Ravens, mentoring future Hall of Fame linebacker Ray Lewis. He later joined the San Francisco 49ers staff, eventually becoming head coach, and also served as an assistant coach for the Minnesota Vikings and Los Angeles Rams. His most recent coaching experiences have been with the Memphis Express of the AAF and Trinity Christian Academy in Addison, Texas. Thanks again for coming on tonight, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So kind of two things, our first two questions are, one, how are you doing, especially during this time of quarantine? And what are you up to these days?
Well, first of all, I'm doing well. Really taking the time to really use this time wisely. I think my wife's about to throw me out of the house, but other than that, I'm doing okay. But really just spending a lot of time reading a lot of word, the Bible, studying football on occasions. I've done a lot of that over the past few months, and now just because of the time that it is, just spending a lot of time in prayer and reading the word.
That's great. So there's a lot of high school football coaches on here tonight, as well as some college guys. You seem to have had two major coaching influences in your life, one being legendary head coach Grant Taft, and the other one being Chicago Bears defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan. Can you start the night off by talking about the importance of those coaches and their influence on you?
Well, I think Coach Taft was really interesting. He came at a great time in my life as a high school football player, and just being one of those guys that really had to work his tail off to even get a look. And I think Coach Taft saw me on film, and the rest was history. I think he was looking for someone that just really jumped out at you. And I guess I was a guy that did that, and Coach Taft brought me in. And Baylor was the only school that offered me the opportunity to play middle linebacker.
Wow.
The only other college visit I had, Division I, was the University of Texas. But they wanted me to play fullback, and that was not going to happen. So I went to Baylor and really enjoyed my time there. Coach Taft did a tremendous job of mentoring me and really teaching me the things that I needed to learn as a young man, as a Christian young man, a guy playing football and trying to make a career of it, trying to be a student athlete. And he knew what I wanted to be. We really took the time to sit down and really get to know each other. And I spent a lot of time with Coach Taft, traveling with him as he would speak to different churches and different youth rallies and functions all over Texas. And it will always be one of those things that was just a joy in my life to have someone who was very much like my dad as a young, influential player. Buddy Ryan was, I would never think in a million years that I would really get close to him. It was really difficult. My first year and a half with the Bears, he was just tough, did not like rookies, did not like rookie middle linebackers. And I just think that we just really got off on the wrong foot. And And it took a while to gain that trust and confidence. And from there, we really struck up a relationship that was pretty amazing.
Absolutely. So we received some really great questions ahead of time from some coaches that are on here now. So we will jump right in and kind of get started with those. This first one comes from Jerry in Alabama. I know you played a lot of your time in a bear defense. Do you think it is an advantage to have both guards and center covered up as the Mike linebacker? We have a good young linebacker that we're thinking about playing in the middle. Would you recommend playing the 4-6 bear defense?
Well, it depends. I think if you're going to play the 46 defense, anytime you can cover the center and the two guards, I mean, your linebacker is going to get a chance to run a little bit. I think sometimes when teams play the 46, I think you should think about more of a 4-eye on one particular side of it. I think that's something that as you get more toward the passing down, maybe going toward 4 eyes instead of 3 eyes, and I think that would help passing wise get those guards turning out and not have everything jammed up inside. But as far as running downs, having those guards covered in the threes is that's a good thing to do.
Okay. So this next question comes from Hugh in Virginia. Our resources at our high school are extremely limited. We have time, but not a lot of tools outside of the basics. We also don't have depth. The roster was 17 last year. Some weeks we dressed 14 due to injury. So we have to prepare essentially the top 11 to 14 kids to get 130 to 170 snaps per week. Most never come off the field. We cannot afford to hit a whole lot during the season. What element of weekly preparation would you recommend as an emphasis?
I would think it sounds like you've had some success from some of the things that I've heard, and I think when you have low numbers like that, it's really important that you go through and establish kind of different levels of practice. Like let's say, for instance, you may have a jog through. Okay, guys, we're going to jog through and we're going to tag off. We have a walk through, we have a jog through, and we have a run through. Those 3 different levels of practice, guys would really begin to understand once you showed them each level. This is what we're going to do, and that way they really learn how to practice at each different tempo. And you wouldn't have to tell them every time and be able to know what tagging off is, know what a thud is when you have pads on. And I think when you have fewer numbers, you have to do a better job of really going through the different levels of practice and exactly how we're going to practice and what that level means as to how we tag off. But it sounds like you guys are in great shape. And if they're going both ways and staying on the field a lot, I mean, that's what you have to have. I take my hat off to you. Sounds like you've done a great job so far.
So we told Coach Singletary about this question from Hugh before because Hugh actually won a state championship in Virginia last year with just those 17 players. So it's pretty amazing.
Hello.
This next
have some studs there. Wow.
This next question is from Rich from Naperville, Illinois. Coach, I am a lifelong Chicago Bears fan. What do you think was behind the dip in our 2019 season as opposed to the 2018 season? Do you think we have the quarterback we need?
First of all, I do think you have a good quarterback. I think he's, if he can come back from having his confidence shaken last year, I think he'll do just fine. I see no reason why he shouldn't be a good quarterback. But everything is gonna rely on how early he can regain that confidence, because I know he was shaken last year. As far as the team is concerned, I think the offensive line had some struggles early on that they didn't anticipate. And when you have a young quarterback, particularly coming off of a good year, and you're coming back that next year and you're expecting to do great things, and you have some injuries on the offensive line. A lot of people don't think that's a big issue, but I tell you what, drop a guard, drop a center, drop a tackle. It makes all the difference in the world in terms of things that you can and cannot do protection-wise. So I'm hoping that he'll bounce back. I'm hoping the Bears will bounce back and do a good job. But I do think they have the right quarterback.
So this next question is from John in Pasadena, California. And I will say that being an employee of First Down Playbook, I can tell you that I hear this every single day from coaches right now. So John's question is, do you have any advice for coaches right now who have little to no contact with our players and may not have contact with them for the next 2 or 3 months?
Wow. I was just talking to a coach last night about that. And I just think that in a situation like this, it is so important that it's one of the things I talked about earlier, the leadership of your team. As a coach, when you're there, you see the players, you know what they're doing, you know how they're spending their time. And normally, you have that 20-80 rule where 20% of the guys are going to do the right thing. They're going to be thinking right. Then you have that 80% that just, some guys just don't want to work out. Some guys just have a tough time getting there. But it's that 20% that the coach has to get to. And within that 20%, find a handful of leaders that can be the extension of the coach and get those messages out. In terms of, guys, we got to make sure we work out. Guys, we got to make sure we're doing this. And it would be different if you were the only school that was not able to work out. So you're not the only one that have that problem. So it's really important that every coaching staff do a great job of taking a step back and really designating who our leaders are, and giving them some leadership roles and putting them in roles that can help the team. And if they're willing to pick that up, then you have a good chance of coming out of this successful.
That's really good advice. And I'm going to do a little plug here in that First Down Playbook has a great tool for coaches to securely send all their installs and playbooks to players remotely. So kids have to log in on their own account to be able to see playbooks. So that is a really easy way, and it's been really popular over these last few weeks. So you guys can let us know if you need to find out how to do that. So Coach, this next one comes from Andrew in Tennessee. Who are the best players that you've ever played with, and who are the best players that you've coached? What made them so great?
Wow. The first player that I played with, the great player, was Walter Payton. Walter was absolutely phenomenal as a player and as a teammate. He worked his tail off. I never saw anybody work any harder. I remember when Coach Dicker would run us to death, and I'm thinking, if I run one more sprint, I'm done. And we would finish running, and Walter would run, 5 or 10 more. And I would just look at him and really, I wasn't impressed. I was mad. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
But he was absolutely incredible. And he set a tremendous example, a guy that didn't talk a whole lot, but when he went out there on the field, he just showed what he could do. And that made all the difference in the world. One of the other guys I thought was Dan Hampton. I thought Dan Hampton did a tremendous job as a player. When Dan wasn't on the field, we missed him. Dan really made a difference. And of course, I had the luxury of having a few guys, Steve McMichael and Richard Dent. Those guys are mainstays in the front of me playing on that 46 when we played the 46. And when it was effective, they did a great job. So as a coach, I would have to say the guy that jumps out at me the most is Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis would come in my office crying, Coach, how do I get better? How do I be great? I'm not doing enough. And I'm like, wait, sit down. It's okay. We're going to work it. We're going to work through it. And, but he wanted to be a great player. Patrick Willis, I worked with Patrick Willis in San Francisco from a rookie until I left. And Pat was, I really wish I had a little more time with him. But I had 4 or 5 years with him, and there was so much more there. And he had a great career, but could have been really something even more special than you saw. And he was a heck of a player. So those two guys jump out at me. Takeo Spikes is another guy who's a veteran linebacker, did a great job. Frank Gore, tremendous running back. Now I'm going to name a guy that would surprise some people, but Alex Smith. Alex Smith was the most unselfish player that I've ever coached. Alex really didn't get the chance that the time that he needed, the support that he needed in San Francisco. But Alex was a heck of a quarterback. And I hope that he gets well and he can play again in the NFL.
Absolutely. And a follow-up from Andrew, are there any young players in college or the NFL right now that remind you of yourself?
I think it's kind of tough right now to look out there and find someone that would remind me of myself, because guys don't have as much time to work on technique and fundamentals as I did. I was a smaller player, and I was normally one of the smaller linebackers to play, and on any given Sunday. And so I had to be technically sound. I had to be fundamentally sound. I mean, in every way. I didn't have a whole lot of room for error. So I really had to spend a lot of time on my technique and the details of the game. And guys today are not, because of the rules. In college, you only got 20 hours, which is pretty amazing. And then at the professional level, with the limited number of OTAs, and it just makes it really tough to find someone that is as detailed as when I played. And of course, I had to be as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of on that note, Roy from Michigan asked, we all know that you were a student of the game as a player and continue to be as a coach. As you watch today's game with spread offenses and even an option attack in the NFL, do you think you would have to play the game any differently now than you did back in the 80s?
It definitely more and more is becoming a different game, simply because of the quarterback. The quarterback, the focus on the quarterback has changed everything. It's changed the way defenses have to attack offenses. It's changing the way, because of the rules that the quarterback has. It's difficult to find the proper way to hit him. You can't really get your hands on receivers a whole lot, because everything is geared to the quarterback. And so I wouldn't say that I would play a lot different. I just think the game plans would be different. I think we'd have to have more multiple calls. The 46, would it work? Yes, it would work, but we definitely have to have some dime and nickel kind of players out there. I think the game today, you're going to start seeing more and more linebacker type guys playing. Linebackers, you got a guy coming out this year, I think out of Clemson, that I think ran a 4.4 or 4.3 or something like that. It's a linebacker. Those are the kind of guys that I think you're going to see more and more of those guys on the field. And it's, as the game changes, when you got guys that can run like that at 230 pounds, 235 pounds. It's gonna change the way the game is played, and it just depends on if they can hold up staying with those guys down the field.
Sure, yeah. So our next question is from Jerry in New Jersey. Can you talk about tackling fundamentals and how you would teach tackling today?
The way I tackle, I teach it, I would teach it the same way. The way I learned it when I was in middle school is the same way that I tackle all the way through college and the NFL. And it's the proper way to tackle right today, you know, keeping your face up, putting your shoulders on the belly button. But the most important thing today that I really think that needs to happen in the game, when the referee sees that a guy's head goes to the ground or a guy's eyes is on the ground rather than the player, I think he needs to take the flag out right away and throw it, because one or two things are going to happen. The tackler is going to get hurt because his neck is in a vulnerable position, or the ball carrier is going to get hurt because the head's going to go down to the knee, or it's going to be a head-to-head. But I think I would like to see that out of all the changes that I see in the game, the way the refs are calling the game, that's one thing that I really would challenge them to do. As soon as you see that a defender's eyes are on the ground, throw the flag. Because now that would force the coaches and would force the player to keep his eyes up. That, to me, is the only way you're going to accomplish that. And it's the best way to tackle. And then having your shoulders in your neck, in your shoulders, so that you keep the neck in one place, and all of a sudden the neck and shoulders are one particular placement instead of two. So that would be the thing that I would teach.
It's a great answer. So we kind of have a wild card question here. Do you still know your verse to the Super Bowl shuffle?
Oh my goodness, come on. That's an awful question. Oh my goodness. You don't know the words, my lines to the, how can you forget it? Let's see. I'm Samurai Mike. I stop them cold. Part of the defense, big and bold. I've been jamming for quite a while, doing what's right and setting the style. Give me a chance, I'll rock you good. Nobody messing in my neighborhood. I didn't come here looking for trouble. I just came to do the Super Bowl shuffle. Every one of those, every record, every tape that I had, I tried to burn, but I tried to get rid of it before my kids could see it, but they saw it anyway. It was fun making, but glad when it was over.
That was great. Alrighty, a question from Tony. What grade do you think is a good grade for kids to start playing tackle football?
I think for my kids, I really held them back until they were like 12 years old, 11 and a half, 12 years old. Old enough to really begin to, you can tell when they kind of mature. But for me, right around 12 years old, because when they get those injuries at a younger age, their bones and their joints have a tough time recovering from those broken bones and things like that. And so I just think that if you can hold them out 12 years old, 11 and a half, 12 years old, they're going to be that much more mature, and they're really going to understand the game and not go out there just banging around, running around, not really knowing what the heck they're doing and not really knowing how to handle an injury.
So this next question comes from Andy. Coach, your alma mater is coming off a heck of a turnaround over the last 4 years, culminating in an 11-win season last year. What advice would you give, or perhaps have you given, to former LSU defensive coordinator Dave Aranda as he takes over the Baylor program as a first-time head coach?
Well, biggest thing is really take a look at your team, and really begin to take a step back and look at why you won 11 games last year. Was it because you were that good? Was it because the Big 12 was not as good, it had a down year? So, and I would not come in trying to repeat what they did last year. Oh, I want to make sure that I try. I want to make sure that I come in and build this program from the ground up. I want to look at what they did well, not try to make household changes to make it my own, but really look at what they do well and build on that. And take advantage of the leadership that you have. And then having a tremendous coaching staff, making sure that the coaching staff that you have are guys that can really teach, guys that really are bought into your thought process. I think at LSU, I mean, they have some monsters there. They have some creatures at LSU. Different, Alabama, LSU, Clemson, those guys, Ohio State. They have different kinds of guys. And I think that when you come to Baylor, making sure that, you don't look at the guys you have and go, well, we're going to do it because we did it at LSU. It's really important that you really take what you have and make the most of it and allow the coaching staff as well as the players to come together, especially in a situation like this where you're still not getting to know each other. And you've got so much lax time, and then you're going to have to take that time to get the mentality out of the guys that they had last year. Last year is over. We won 11 games last year. That's over. Now we gotta start our own identity. We got to start out new. Who are we now? Who are we coming out of this? That's the advice that I would give.
That's good advice. So Jim May in Plano wants to know how FirstDown Playbook helped you install the Wild Thing offense.
Jim May, only you, Jim. FirstDown Playbooks was outstanding. Jim May was a guy that I worked with at TCA that did a great job using FirstDown Playbook. It was a tremendous tool for us, and used it every week. And we put in some we put in some pretty funky plays. And FirstDown Playbook was instrumental in allowing us to do that.
That's good to hear. So, Coach, we want to thank you so much for being here. I don't have any questions as of yet. If they come in, I'll shoot them at you. But again, thank you so much for being, the face of FirstDown Playbook. You're so well respected, and everyone I hear every week, oh, I love Mike Singletary. I'm going to try this out. So it's been great having someone like you using it. And also, like I said, being the face of our company. So we want to thank you for being here. And is anything else you kind of want to say before we let you go?
It was great doing this, and I'm sure that a lot more coaches are going to be more and more familiar with this tool. FirstDown Playbook is amazing. When I first saw it, I went, wow, and been wowed ever since. And really excited about the coaches that join. Thank you for taking the time. And for all you guys that are trying to do something great with your programs, good luck to you. And go get it. God bless you. Thank you.